Welcome to the Compact Disasters podcast from compactdisasters.com, formerly known as 5-Minute Disasters, the show where we explore natural and man-made disasters from around the world. This is episode 42, Tulip Mania. In the early 17th century, something peculiar gripped the Dutch Republic. It wasn't war or politics or religion. It was flowers. More specifically, tulips. These bright, delicate blooms, introduced to Europe from the Ottoman Empire, sparked a frenzy that turned everyday citizens into frenzied speculators, leading to what many consider the first major financial bubble in recorded history. At the time, tulips were unlike anything Europeans had ever seen. Their vivid colours and exotic appearance made them objects of fascination. But it was the so-called broken tulips that really captivated people. These were flowers with striking streaks and flame-like patterns across the petals, caused not by clever breeding, but by a virus that altered the pigment in unpredictable ways. Their rarity and beauty made them immensely desirable, especially among the wealthy merchant class of the Dutch Golden Age. Soon, having tulips in your garden wasn't just a pleasant hobby, it was a status symbol. A particularly rare bulb could be worth a small fortune. Collecting and cultivating these flowers became fashionable among the elite, and from there, the fascination spread like wildfire. By the 1620s, the tulip trade had evolved into a legitimate industry. Growers carefully cultivated different strains, gave them impressive names, and documented their lineages like prized racehorses. But tulips were slow-growing, and the most desirable varieties were rare. This scarcity, combined with growing demand, pushed prices higher and higher. And as prices rose, so did the temptation to treat tulips not just as beautiful flowers, but as investments. A futures market quickly emerged. Buyers could pay a small deposit to reserve a bulb that wouldn't be lifted from the ground until the following season. These agreements were often made without the buyer ever seeing the flower in question. In many cases, bulbs changed hands multiple times before anyone took physical delivery. These transactions became known as wind handle or wind trading, because what was being bought and sold was little more than air. By 1636, tulip speculation had gone mainstream. Bulbs were being traded in taverns, markets, and on the streets, and it wasn't just merchants and horticulturalists taking part. Artisans, bakers, labourers, even chimney sweeps were swept up in the frenzy. Everyone wanted a slice of the action. Prices exploded. Some rare varieties sold for the price of a house in central Amsterdam. Others fetched the equivalent of a skilled worker's salary for an entire year. Tulip contracts became more valuable than the bulbs themselves. And as with any bubble, the logic became circular. People bought because they believed the price would rise, and the price rose because more people bought. Critics at the time weren't silent. Satirical pamphlets mocked tulip speculators as fools. Religious leaders warned of greed and moral decay. However, those warnings were easily ignored when money was being made at a rapid rate. The belief that prices could only go up had taken hold. Buyers convinced themselves they could always sell to someone else before the crash, a classic case of what we now call the greater fool theory. Then came early 1637. The exact spark that caused the collapse remains a topic of debate. One theory is that the auction failed to attract buyers, which shook confidence in the market. Another suggests that people simply woke up and realized they were trading pieces of paper for bulbs they'd never see. Whatever the cause, the change was swift. Almost overnight, the market dried up. Buyers vanished. Sellers panicked. Bulbs that had fetched hundreds or even thousands of guilders became nearly worthless. Contracts were torn up. fortunes evaporated. The legal system wasn't much help. Most of the tulip trades had been made informally or with vague agreements. Many buyers simply refused to pay, claiming the contracts were nothing more than bets. Dutch courts often agreed, leaving those hoping for compensation out of luck. There were attempts to stabilize the market and impose official guidelines, but the damage was already done. Some people lost everything. Others, particularly those who had sold early or never paid for their contracts, managed to walk away relatively unscathed. Interestingly, despite the scale of the crash, the broader Dutch economy remained strong. The Republic was a global trading powerhouse, and tulip madness, while loud, hadn't infected the banking system or key industries. But the cultural impact was profound. Tulip Mania quickly became a byword for financial foolishness. Later, historians, economists, and moralists latched onto the story as a warning against speculation and irrational exuberance. Paintings and books from the time depict the mania as a kind of mass hysteria. Some of those depictions were exaggerated, but the core truth remained. People had collectively convinced themselves that flowers could be worth more than gold. In the centuries that followed, tulip mania became a cautionary tale. Every time a new bubble emerged, whether in stocks, real estate, or cryptocurrency, someone inevitably brought up the tulip trade. It served as a reminder that markets are driven not just by value, but by emotion. Modern scholars have debated the scale of the bubble. Some argue it was confined to a relatively small group of traders and that the real-world impact was limited. Others view it as a broader phenomenon, encompassing people from multiple social classes and regions. The reality likely sits somewhere in the middle. What's beyond dispute is the way tulip mania mirrors patterns we continue to see. The lure of easy wealth, the rush of joining a crowd, the fear of missing out, and the stubborn hope that even as the whole thing teeters, someone else will be the one left holding the bag. Despite it all, tulips remain beloved in the Netherlands. The flower that once sparked financial chaos continues to bloom in gardens across the country. Today, the Netherlands is one of the world's largest exporters of tulips, and the flower remains a national symbol of pride. However, it also serves as a poignant reminder of what happens when beauty and speculation intersect. Tulip mania wasn't just about flowers, it was about perception, timing, and the very human belief that the future will always reward those who take bold action. In 1637, that belief wilted fast, but its roots still run deep. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Compact Disasters podcast from compactdisasters.com. If you did, why not leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts? And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you would like to support us more directly, please consider buying us a coffee. Head on over to compacthistories.com/disaster coffee to see how. Also, please check out our other Compact podcasts. You will find them all at compacthistories.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.